Welcome to Jurassic Park.
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
I'm just a fucked up girl who's looking for my own peace of mind.
Welcome to the party, pal.
I'll be back.
I'll have what she's having.
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
Here's looking at you, kid.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Hello, I'm your host Jim McLean. Welcome back to another episode of More Than Pixels on a Screen, a spoilerific movie review podcast brought to you by Banterflix, cinematic discussion with a Northern Irish accent. So it is, and it's a Ramble edition of the podcast as we look back at some of the big releases on the big screen and the small screen over the past 4 weeks. And no serving of Ramble would be complete without a dollop of custard, and that comes in the form of Adam. I love my custard Neeson.
Do you remember when the Ambrosia advertisement used to use "Go West"?
Yes.
That was great. It was just a load of men that enjoyed custard.
All over themselves, just pouring it all over. I'm going to be honest, Adam. I was going to call you Adam Ambrosia Neeson, but as I went to do that little joke, I forgot who actually makes... Well, they don't make custard. Other people make custard, but I completely forgot the name of Ambrosia.
Ambrosia is a good nickname.
Is it, though?
If you didn't know what Ambrosia was, you'd be like, fuck, that's mysterious. And then someone like, no, it's because he gets the custard plus to school every day.
He's see Adam. Yeah, you'll see him when he's going past in the bus. You'll see him licking the windows.
Spotless milk in windows.
Yeah, very inappropriate for us to start this podcast on that front. But anyway, hey Adam, how are you? Because as we record this, you and I have just survived Friday the 13th. We had our little live pod, live stream, whatever we want to call it, with Gav and John on Facebook on the Dark Hedges page. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It's up there if you want to give it a viewing, kids. I think we're going to maybe release it as a pod maybe later in the month. But yeah, that was a lot of fun, Adam.
Well, maybe.
I love the way Adam's like, yeah, it was. Yeah, it was so fucking fun, mate. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I had a load of fucking fun, thanks.
I had a great time. I enjoyed that because I had never met John before, and he's like, I actually have a PhD in this sort of situation, while behind him was just box sets of horror movies. I'm like, I like this guy.
John's a lovely guy. We've had him on a couple of pods. I think the last time we had him on was for Scream 4. When he came up, listen back to that podcast, John came up with some wild theories. None of those are now going to come to fruition now for the next Scream installment. We're going to have to wait and see what happens there. But yeah, Adam, we survived Friday the 13th, as I said. Jason didn't come after us, or his ma. And yeah, so here we are with another Ramble podcast. The last episode, you just had Joe and Therese going through another episode of Crime Scene to Screen, and now we're like in the MCU, when it gets all heavy and serious and you've just had half the MCU universe wiped out, that's the crime scene stuff, right? And then we're like, this little Ramble edition is like the Ant-Man and Wasp, the little bit of comic relief just to get us through until we kind of, it's like everything's so serious. Now here we are. Let's talk shite with extra dollops of shite for an hour and a half. That's me being generous about some of the things we've watched over the last 4 weeks.
I think because people don't like Ant-Man and the Wasp, but do you like Ant-Man and the Wasp?
I don't mind it. I think it's fine. I think it's a bit silly, but I think it's meant to be. But it's got Michael Douglas, it's got Michelle Pfeiffer. It's got the weird villain that I think, isn't she going to be popping up in the next? Not the Defend. Yeah, is it Defenders or whatever it is? Their version of Suicide Squad, isn't she popping up in?
Yeah, Thunderbolts asterisks. I remember my mate telling me he hated Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I was like, "Why did you hate it?" And I was like, and he said, "Because the bad guy just." Hell, you can't. It's a visual medium, but she just kept making weird hands the whole time, and that's how she acted the whole time. And he was like, put me off the whole film. And I was like, you were complaining about an actress's hands.
It's all right. Let's hope he likes the next actor or actress to play it in the Addams Family. That fucking hand just put me off the whole fucking thing, ruined the whole fucking film for me. So yeah, Adam, we're doing the Ramble. So the way we're kind of doing these now is the normal recordings. We're tend to be at the minute going through older releases. I know in a week or two you and I are going to be going back like Prince to 1999. I don't know offhand how the poll is going, but I do feel from the last time I looked, it was very much, yes, I feel we know our audience. We have some serious films from 99 in there, but I think like Deep Blue Sea is up there high in the poll, South Park, Bigger, Longer, Uncut, while, some bona fide brilliant films from 99 are not doing too well.
I'm just saying, if the audience doesn't pull through with fucking Wild Wild West, then what's even the point?
What is the point? Just for you to pull out your wee anecdote again about that time you pissed off Kenneth Branagh. Here, Chuckles, Wild Wild West, mate, what a show. Who is this boy? Remove him from the movie house, please.
Don't you just hate that song?
Don't you just hate that Adam Neeson? So, yeah, we're going to be doing that. So this is a Ramble where we get to talk about more recent releases. And, yeah, I think in this pod, you're busting to talk about Kneecap, which I still haven't seen, busting to see, just didn't get a chance because, as you probably guessed already, we're still recording remotely. TV shows back at the minute. I'm not back in front of the camera. I know Joe McElroy was fab on the first show, looking very dapper, I have to say, looking very relaxed. He was almost kind of like leaning back to the point where he was almost, a straight line in that chair. My fucking chair, Joe. Just you fucking remember that. And what fucker's taking this week in the chair? It's this fucker. It's Adam What's Happening Neeson. So I'm sure you're going to be fab as well. And I know next week we're going to have Robert J. Simpson. Hopefully, I hear the viewers, no viewers at all, going, hopefully Jim will be back. But hopefully he'll be back in October. Right now, Adam, are you looking forward to hosting the show?
Yes, but also slightly shit myself because I know you might receive a 3 a.m. Email from Lorraine complaining, who's that bastard?
Why is he just spoiling every single movie? Fuck's sake, where are you, Jim? Get back! With the fucking pump and all attached. Just come back into the studio. But yes, NVTV had lovely things to say about Joe, so it'll be interesting to see when I'm in for the little kind of chat afterwards, see what they think about you, Adam. I'm sure you'll be fab, and you'll have that to look forward to. A couple of films I know you're going to be talking about Field of Dreams, because I'm a complete kind of egomaniac. I'm refusing to just leave the show completely. So for the shows while I'm off, I'm still picking the movies for the pick of the stream section. So viewers, don't worry, you'll see my beautiful face, blubbering about Field of Dreams. Of course, we're picking that because the sad news about James Earl Jones a couple of weeks ago. I'm sure we will touch on that. But I think, Adam, we haven't done this for a little while. It's time for a little bit of your favorite. I think we need some jingles. We're not in the studio together. I miss the studios, and I suddenly see the look of Adam's face. It's like, I have no jingles prepared with me. I thought we'd move beyond this, so it's going to really be pushing on your improv skills. Former stand-up comedian of the year. But Adam, I think we'll start off with a little bit of movie news.
We'll also say now, before I get into the theme, people that enjoy all of the comedy bits that we used to do in the podcast, we get back in the studio, they'll all be coming back. Christmas special. You think Mr. What do you call the boss from Die Hard?
This is going so well. Hans Gruber.
No, the Asian guy.
Oh,
Takanaki? No.
Yeah. He works in a Chinese restaurant when he's 363 days. So they're just Christmas Eve. He's down at Nakatomi Plaza, just getting fucking minced.
If you don't think the Asian guy from Die Hard isn't going to be voiced like David Lynch, then you're in for a treat. Anyway, na 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 news, na 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 movies, na 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 Hollywood, na 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 specials.
There we go. Love it. It's just, like, can't wait to get back to the studio just for that. So, movie news, I guess there's been a lot of things happening. We're in September now. We talked about it a couple of times in passing. I know when you were reviewing Wolverine and Deadpool on the last Ramble, but we said we'd keep that chat about Robert Downey Jr.'s return to the Ramble. So a lot of time has passed. So it's not new news in any way, but just your thoughts on that, because we've kind of teased it a little bit. I'm intrigued by him coming back, but it's still a bit like, meh.
It's the thing we sort of talked about on the Tom Holland podcast, where you're bringing back an old actor to play a character only for that character maybe in a few years to be recast anyway. In Tom Holland, you had like the Green Goblin was Willem Dafoe again, when in about 5 to 10 years you're going to have another Green Goblin. Whereas now it seems to be that through like the marketing material, they're always like, "Oh, it's infamous Iron Man," or um, the Doctor Doom. Whenever he, got his own Iron Man suit, they're going to be pulling a lot from that. But if you actually read those comic books, if you read when Doctor Doom became sort of a hero, it's nothing to do with Iron Man at all. He only just wears the suit. So if they're going to pull from anything, I don't really know. It's having Robert Downey Jr. obviously is a big hole for Marvel because people fucking love Iron Man and they think that having him is going to make them, box office. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Robert Downey Jr. isn't a fucking fantastic actor and can do anything really. He can play a bad bastard. If you've ever seen U.S. Marshals, um, but I don't know. It just seems like a real desperate play, and I would rather have seen someone like Cillian Murphy just be Doctor Doom and then be Doctor Doom for the next however many years or films, because having Downey Jr. versus Pedro Pascal just kind of downplays Doom when it comes to later movies and later universe, whatever they want to do after Secret Wars.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I know there was a lot of fans wanted Mads Mikkelsen cast, but you kind of then had the same problem. He's already been a villain in the MCU, and would there have been the same outcry? Probably not. I, like you, go Downey Jr., brilliant actor, and part of me thinks it's great for the MCU, I guess, to have him back, and if he's been allowed to kind of get his teeth into a character like Doom, and being able to go there like the way he did with Tony Stark, I'm intrigued to see what he's going to do with it. But at the same time, I'm like, if this is going to be the start of something, if this is only 2 or 3 movies, that's fine. But anyone who watched Oppenheimer would kind of go, there's the fucking Robert Downey Jr. that we kind of lost for a little while when he was, this MCU project, this, where his time is so limited that I kind of want to see him do more. I want to go back to the old kiss, kiss, bang, bang Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, I'm sure he's getting paid handsomely, very handsomely, to come back. Intrigued back, they said it's not going to be a variant. I mean, let's be honest, the character spends most of the time behind a mask, so are they? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I know the reaction online has been mixed. What do you think of the Russos, though, coming back to direct? I mean, this does feel like, hey, you guys were behind or helmed some of the biggest projects within the MCU in terms of box office. They've dwindled a little bit. We've had the whole Kang thing off screen. I always say at this point, look it up. We're two silly boys. We know that. Man-childs. This is not the place for us to talk about that. But yeah, Kang ain't coming back. Now we've got Doom. Now we've got Secret Wars. Well, we knew we were always going to have Secret Wars. I'm still intrigued as to what way they're going to do that. But Russo's just seems like a safe pair of hands. But if you've watched any of the Russo stuff outside of the MCU, it's like, oh, guys, come on.
It seems to be anybody they interviewed or asked to be, the director for these movies. There seems to be too much pressure or too many meddling hands from a studio, and the Russos have been through it before, and I think, they also are getting paid handsomely, and they're happy enough to just come in and be yes men. They've all great working relationships with a lot of the cast, and I'm sure, a lot of the original Avengers trust the Russos, and they will probably come back. I don't think Robert Downey Jr. is the last we'll hear of the original Avengers. Scarlett Johansson still has a movie on her contract, weirdly, even though her character's dead. So, like, it's fine. You know what you're going to get, and I think the epicness of the story itself will outshadow both the directors and Downey Jr. itself. Just, you hear rumors. It's annoying with Marvel movies. You seem to get a new rumor every day, but it's like Avengers Secret War is going to contain 65 characters. You're like, realistically, no, it's not. It's going to be.
Why not 66? Would you have been excited at 66, but 65? Like, yeah.
I'm like, but you didn't put Shang-Chi in. He's my favorite. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like, we could sit here and talk about it all day, being like, I don't know what it's going to be. We're both going to be sat there watching.
Of course we are. Of course we fucking are. And we're talking actually about Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi, I think the director of that is now in talks or possibly signed on as we go to record this to do the next Spider-Man movie. I know we've had a month of Spider-Man. We've talked a lot, Adam, about Tom Holland. A lot of that didn't quite make the airwaves because of my fuck-ups. The less said about that, the better. And talking about Spider-Man, the trailer for Venom 3 dropped. The Last Dance, Save the Last Dance, with, what's the actress in that? Julia Stiles?
Julia Stiles.
Yeah, Julia Stiles is going to come back, and they're going to dance the night away. But is it null? Were you telling me beforehand? Is the big bad of that?
Yeah.
And whether you believe the internet rumors, we're going to have, and we talked about this a little bit on the Holland pod when we were talking about our hopes for the future, that Sony seemed to think that the multiverse is the way forward. There seems to be a lot of fans, I should say, not one fan, just theorizing that this bad of Null and the symbiotes, that's going to connect into Spider-Man 4, and you're going to see, we've had the crossover with the previous Spider-Mans before. Now we're going to finally see Venom and Spidey team up. I'm as about excited as I am when I fart in the bathtub about that. It's great, sounds great, but once the smell hits, like, nah, I want out of this.
I think, it's the Venom movies and the Spider-Man movies are fucking like chalk and cheese. Like, they just don't mix together. And if Tom Hardy's going to be in Spider-Man, like, you know what you're going to get? You're going to get Tom Holland being like, oh my God, what is this? Mr. Stark, what is this? While fucking Tom Hardy's being weird and you're hearing, Eddie, you should eat his asshole, Eddie. Or whatever Venom says. It's
well,
really
it's going to be,
weird.
it's in the MCU, so Eddie, you should eat his butthole, Eddie.
It's weird that they've made Venom such a like LGBTQ plus character in this incarnation, and even then there was an advertisement for the UFC where Tom Hardy appears as Eddie Brock, and he calls Dana White really handsome, and it's like, are you just making this character fully gay? Because I'm for it. But just a weird choice since Tom Hardy is not. Well, Tom Hardy is bisexual.
Yeah.
So it's just a weird choice, and if they're leading into that, that could be fun. But this trailer seems to. It does the thing that every fucking Venom trailer does, where it's like, this is dead serious. This, this monster is gonna destroy everybody, and then you get in, and it's just 45 minutes of Tom Hardy farting about.
Which I'm all for. Like, I love Tom Hardy as an actor. I always think, is it Lawless?
Yes.
Early film he did, and it just that kind of physical nature, that kind of Marlon Brando-esque nature that he has. Great physical performer in that regard. I mean, I love him in Inception. It's a bit like Robert Downey Jr., where you go, I think he's wasted. a little bit in these roles. But hey, they make money for Sony, so who am I to judge? And look, I know we're going to move on to the first review on the pod, but we couldn't do or look back on the last 4 weeks or so and not comment on the passing of James Earl Jones. Fabulous, just the voice. That voice. I think if I was doing a bit of reading, kind of with various kind of eulogies, etc., and tributes in a couple of online magazines, I didn't realise. Maybe it was well known. Maybe I'm just very naive. I think that James Earl Jones, when he was young, he suffered from a stutter and kind of that kind of thing, and he kind of talked about that. When you think of that voice, now the voice of Darth Vader, Mufasa, Eddie Murphy's dad in Coming to America, all that stuff. I love James Earl Jones as a performer, and the movie, that's why on the TV show that will probably be just about to come out, that you're hosting, for the pick of the streams, I have picked Field of Dreams, because he's the one that gets that massive speech, that big speech in Field of Dreams. And when you just watched it, kind of, because we were talking about it, or, well, I say we, Joe, Claire, and Phil were talking about it, and they mentioned him. I was like, well, there's the clip. And when I seen the clip, I was like, fuck, we've got to talk about the movie again, because I love Field of Dreams. I maybe not still emotionally ready to watch it. I know I don't have to watch it this week because I'm not doing the show, but I will be. But because Field of Dreams is a film I really wanted to watch after my dad passed away, and it's like I held off then, and then when James Earl Jones passed, it's like, fuck, I think I'm going to have to rewatch this. So I'm getting ready for an emotional experience. But yeah, just, I know it's a very quick thing. We couldn't not comment. I mean, just what a performer, what a voice. Rest in peace. But your thoughts, Adam?
I think James Earl Jones, obviously, I'm a big Star Wars guy, so Vader is very much important to me. But Coming to America, I think he's fantastic in. There's the line, it's not from him, it's from Eddie Murphy, but when he walks into the barber shop and the old Jewish man that Eddie Murphy plays rubs the lion pelt that James Earl Jones is wearing, he goes, "What is that, velvet?" Gets me every time. There was a clip going around of James Earl Jones in the stage performance of Fences. Gives a really iconic speech about that being, working class father. And obviously Denzel Washington made Fences years later himself, and spoke about his love for James Earl Jones and said that he was the actor that he always wished he could be growing up. So he's such a well-respected guy. When your first movie is a Stanley Kubrick movie, where else do you go, really? But he's a man that's just made a career past his voice.
Yeah.
He was one of those iconic actors that when you look into the clouds and see the faces of Simba, Darth Vader, and James Earl Jones in The Simpsons, you get the joke because he's such an iconic guy. But yeah, rest in peace, James Earl Jones. Out of like all of the Star Wars cast, there's so many we've lost so far, and it's just sad to see another one go.
Yeah, very true. And also, I mean, let's not fail to mention performance in Conan as well. Brilliant in that as well. And also, I feel bad, Adam, because I thought you'd maybe bring it up, because I know we're a generation where we were reared on Family Guy. I'm a bad person because after James Earl Jones passed away, a couple of things I was thinking about. Yes, all those things like Field of Dreams is mentioned. And although I'm not a massive fan of Big Bang Theory, I fucking loved his little cameo in that. You like Star Wars? I like Star Wars. And I think it's going to go to Carrie Fisher's house, R.I.P. I'm nearly certain. But there's the Family Guy joke that I felt really bad. And I nearly put it on the Banterflix socials. Like, no, it's not the time and place. It's the Family Guy joke where they're telling James Earl Jones, we just want you to voice the character. We don't want you to play the character. And it's just James Earl Jones in a Darth Vader suit. But rest in peace, you cinematic legend, just pure gravitas, pure cinema. And I think on that note, we shall move on. And our first review where we're going to work this week. We do have an interview. I have an interview this week with the writer and director of the group. That's available now. Various VOD platforms. Played at Fright Fest last year. We'll play that in a moment. But I guess the two big movies the last month or so, big movies, have been Beetlejuice, don't say it a third time, Adam, and Alien Romulus. We've both seen that. So we'll start with the Juice. The Juice is Loose, and then we'll go on. I'll do a couple of movies that we've each individually seen. We've got my little interview, then we'll finish on Alien Romulus. So on that point, it's time for a clip of Beetlejuice.
Jesus, Bob. Can't you see him concentrating here? You know, Bob, long-distance relationships can be difficult. Especially when one of you is dead and the other's ignoring it for 30 years. But Lydia and I, we have a definite psychic connection. And I'll tell you something, she definitely saw me that last time. I felt a little tingle.
So that's a clip of the movie. I've said his name 4 times, Adam. He's definitely going to be appearing. Disappointed, I know it's an audio medium, Adam. No pajamas.
Clockwork Orange t-shirt on today.
There we go.
Also from Primark, of course.
Nice one. That's where all true movie lovers go to get all their attire. And if you've been to Primark recently, you'll notice that not just Adam's pajamas are in a little glass case going Adam Neeson, award-winning filmmaker, stand-up comedian, host, spit roast, movies you should, or more than movies, or not more movies you see. We haven't used that name in a long time, but more than pixels on a screen. Little glass case in the Primark in Belfast. But there's a lot of Beetlejuice merchandise out there. I've literally just seen the film, so I haven't quite decompressed, and this is the important bit. You have seen the film. I know the lovely Therese has seen it. Very excited about it. I think we're all going to get Therese to do a little Beetlejuice pod for us, maybe around Halloween, because I know she does love that movie, and she's been really, from what I've gathered from our little WhatsApp page, I think she's been rather positive about this installment. Adam, where you went in?
I really enjoyed this. I'll not sit here and tell you that fucking it reinvents the wheel or even, changes the narrative of what you think Beetlejuice is going to be, because it's basically just the first movie again. Just a few extra spicy bits laid in, maybe a little bit too many elements to the story, but overall, I think everybody is hilarious in it. Catherine O'Hara fucking steals the show for me. I think everything she says in it, I was just full on pissing myself laughing at. I don't know if maybe the screenwriters just had more confidence in her now than they did back in the 80s, because, she's always been a funny person. Every Christopher Guest film she's always in, she's always one of the better performers. And I think now, after the success of Schitt's Creek, it's like, oh, she can be hilarious. Fucking Winona Ryder, good, back again. I think kind of she's playing more of the mum from Stranger Things than she is a grown-up Lydia. Jenna Ortega as Astrid is Jenna Ortega, which is not a bad thing to say, but there isn't really anything from that character you go, fuck. I was in Forbidden Planet today and seen a Funko Pop of her, and I was like, I couldn't tell you anything about that character apart from.
But you still bought it. You still bought it.
Of course.
Two of them.
I bought a Darth Vader figure today in Forbidden Planet because I couldn't help myself. Rest in peace, James Earl Jones. And then, of course, Michael Keaton, that's the fucking juice man himself, is hilarious. I think, his wit hasn't skipped a beat over the last years. He isn't as quick with the jokes, but there is still a lot of stuff he's given to do that is hilarious. The movie has a lot of practical effects mixed with some visual effects that I think don't, like, when you think of Tim Burton in the last 15 years, think of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory when they get in the glass lift and it's just endless voids because he's just doesn't know what to do with the CGI, whereas he's back to basics here. A lot of stuff doesn't really sit right with me, even though I enjoyed the movie. The whole Jeffrey Jones stuff is a bit fucking odd. To even include his character, Tim Burton famously doesn't really use people of color in his movies, and to have a whole section where you have like 30, 40 black people in a sequence that involves Soul Train is a bit fucking on the nose. But overall, I enjoyed the movie. I laughed a lot, and you know, I will watch a third one. They've set up for a third one. I will watch a third one, and of course, if they make a little doll of that Beetlejuice baby, I will of course be buying it.
Well, Adam, I'm glad you had fun. I really am, and I'm glad Therese had fun when they watched it. I don't know, and I hate when you have to caveat this point. I love the original '88 Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis. It's no secret to say they're not back this time. Alec Baldwin, I guess we kind of know off-screen stuff with everything that's been kind of going on with him in terms of, is it not the gunslinger? Rust, not Dust. Rust, of course. There's all that stuff kind of going on. Gina Davis has kind of said, look, ghosts don't age. Doesn't make sense for them to come back. And other cast members have. Jeffrey Jones, as you mentioned. I'll say it from the start. I didn't like this film. I really didn't. And I just thought it was a mess of a movie. And it exists purely because studio execs have said, look, the kids, the adults, they love fucking Beetlejuice. We can make a shitload out of marketing for this. All our various products, you can't lift up a tin of Fanta these days, can't go into shops and stuff. It's everywhere. And it's been marketed, and it's an IP they can make money with. And I hate talking about that with films, but this is a prime example. And watching this tonight, I felt very much like when I was watching Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, where I was watching a film and other people... Now, nobody was laughing hysterically. Busy screening. Busiest I've seen for probably since Deadpool and Wolverine. And people were enjoying it. But I maybe got a few chuckles. Didn't find anything... I mean, I don't want to say it's charmless, because there's charm... that you've mentioned all the things that are good about it. Catherine O'Hara, I love her anyway. I mean, she's fabulous. And I will say, I think the film's weirdly... at its strongest when it's Catherine O'Hara, Jenny Ortega, and Winona Ryder on their own. We have Justin Theroux, who's clearly having a ball playing this kind of sleazy slime ball character. I don't. That went nowhere. Michael Keaton's having a ball. Always watchable. There's this character Monica Bellucci's playing a soul sucker. I'd happily let her suck my soul. Monica Bellucci, if you're listening, what's happening? What is happening? A happily married man, but what is happening? Monica, adore that woman, and there's my central problem from watching, because I haven't really had time to sit away and think about it. I think there's just so much going on. There's this plot, XYZ. Catherine O'Hara, because she's not just kind of a B-list actor anymore. And I don't mean that sense where you could just have her in a thankless role. She clearly has enough clout now to come back going, this cannot just be a cameo. I need to have a bit of guaranteed screen time. Jenny Ortega, she's so hot right now. Winona Ryder. So everybody has all the plots. Michael Keaton's Beetlejuice has got stuff going on. I just didn't get Adam, maybe you can enlighten me. I was confuddled, right? So when... I know we're venturing into spoilerific territory. So Monica Bellucci's character, I forget her name, but she's an ex-wife of Beetlejuice. Dolores, who's out to... Pardon me, I keep burping tonight. She's out to claim his soul. But does that mean, because he's a demon, does that mean that she killed him? Because there's a whole sequence where they're in the plague. Is that when he was a ghost still, a spirit, or is that when he was alive?
I believe it was when he was alive, because he's in the Black Plague. He looks sort of human. I guess when he died, he started getting a bit weird.
Yeah, I just was like, but he's a demon, so would a demon be alive? I don't know, but it's just weird. There's a plot point with Jenny Ortega's character involving a bit of an attractive guy who's like, fuck, I'm so glad they didn't cast Timothée Chalamet in that role. It's it's just kind of like there's so much going on. I just kind of wish they'd maybe focused on one. Then we have, we've been talking about him. Willem Dafoe is there. Everybody's having fun. I'm glad they had fun. I didn't have fun watching it. I just thought too much going on, bit of a mess, nothing really landing. Tim Burton, you hope that this was going to be the glorious return for him. Although, I mean, like, okay, you were talking about CGI mess of film. Like, what's Tim Burton's last big film? Dumbo. I know. I think we talked about that. I mean, it was another charmless film. The return to practical effects is good. I don't know, and it's not that I went in with I'm ready to hate this. I really wanted to sit down in my seat and be right. Okay, 1988, you had Beetlejuice. Didn't think it needed a sequel. We've had all the talk for years of Beetlejuice goes Hawaiian. Fuck it, that's the sequel I'll always want. And this is what they come up with, and there probably is a great idea there. It's just that all this other stuff's going on, and they maybe tried to make an omelette. They tried to make an omelette and got some scrambled eggs. But I'm sure, like, people enjoyed Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. If they enjoyed it, they enjoyed it. It wasn't for me, Adam. That's all I can say.
Did you not enjoy Danny DeVito going full Frank?
Yeah, I was kind of like a little bit. Oh, there's Danny DeVito back, because of course he got to be back. And forgive me if I'm wrong, because like, I mean they try to do something near the end, another kind of spin on the Banana Boat song. I don't think it works. It just felt a bit forced and laboured. But I did like. Am I nearly certain? Is there a little cameo by Tim Burton's beloved dog in that sequence?
I don't know.
There's a dog. And it's kind of showing like past lives, and it shows Dolores, past loves, Dolores. There's a young Winona Ryder from Beetlejuice.
Yes, you're right.
And then there's a dog, and it's like, that must be the aforementioned Frankenweenie. So there's charming things about it. I just didn't think it was funny enough. I didn't think it was sharp enough. It's like that idea of what a Beetlejuice sequel for me. And I know Steven Spielberg dropped the ball when he talked about this. Like when they wanted to make Indy 4. Yeah, I know they've made 5. Everyone always like, they've only made 4 films. Like, no, they had to go with that before at number 4. And he talked about if they were going to do an Indiana Jones movie, it had to be pure popcorn fest with whipped cream on top and a cherry on top for them to go back. And I just think maybe somewhere there's been a great idea to go back. It's just been lost along in the mix and various ideas. And like you, I find it really. I mean, I said before with the whole Kang stuff. Google all the stuff with Jeffrey Jones. As I say, we're two lads being silly, not the time and place. I thought it was quite intriguing. It's like, okay, his character's dead. That's it. And then there's a little stop motion sequence where he has a gruesome death. It's like, right, okay, that's your way of getting around that. But they then keep that character, albeit not his face. And then even just the fact that they still have the headstone has his face. It's like...
It's to me, I know this is the fucking industry side of it. It's like including him like that still gets him paid. So if you're gonna be, have your fucking cake and eat it, be like, well, he got bitten and we destroyed his face, and you're like, yeah, but he still received a check, and I'm sure it was a hefty check. And you guys could have easily been like, oh, he died, and he not even that he died, because you could be like, well, he wouldn't be a ghost. He left, he got sick of fucking the mum's art stuff and left. That's all you needed to say. But no, that would even go into the whole Lydia in a weird relationship because she never had a father figure growing up. There's an easier way to do it, but instead they just sort of, it's short-sightedness is the word for it. I
and For me, I think there's a subplot there about Lydia's husband or partner, and Jenny Ortega's father. Apologies, Asterix, isn't that her name in this?
Yes.
Astrid, isn't it?
Astrid, yeah.
Astrid.
Let me check the Funko Pop.
Her father. There's a whole subplot about that, and Lydia can't see him, and I was like, oh, would this be really... I was kind of watching it going, I'll not spoil, but wouldn't it be really interesting if they were like, no, he just fucking left. That's why I can't see him. He just walked out on you when you were younger and just couldn't cope with this, and the fact that she's a medium, she can speak to the dead. I don't know. It was just... I find it just a bit of a meh film. Lots going round. Like you, I think it sets itself up for a third entry. I think the box office numbers they've probably been pleased with. So more than likely, they'll have another chance to get more shite, more pajamas for Adam to buy in Primark, more Funko Pops. The merchandising people, they can sell Beetlejuice. Fuck it, there he is behind you. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't find, but look, that's out in cinemas now. That's one of the big releases. Something's on VOD, available to pick up now. Is The Group, low budget British thriller. Screened at Fright Fest last year. It was released earlier this month from the 2nd of September. And I got a chance to speak with the film's director, Willem Higo, to chat about the film. And here's that interview.
We've all done things we're not proud of. We need to be ready to take the next step to make amends. All right, we're gonna go around the group. I don't want to hear the bad. I want to hear the good.
You know what? I'm not really feeling this whole...
We're not here to sit in judgment. You've nothing to be afraid of.
It's AAT, right?
Yes?
Name's Jack. Believe it or not, I'm here to help you. You come here every week looking for change, something to make a difference. Well, here it is. Your higher power.
So that's a clip of The Group, and I'm delighted to say that I'm joined now by the film's writer and director, Will Higo. Will, hello to you. Pleasure to have you on the podcast. Do you want to start by telling our listeners as much as you feel they need to know going in to watch The Group?
Well, firstly, hello to you, Jim, because I didn't want to interrupt you there and then realise I was possibly seeming a little bit ignorant, but hi, Jim.
This is the joys of Zoom, Will. Because you just kind of avoid, and then I just do it to you. I cut across you. I'm a terrible person. What can I say? But we're not here to judge me. Our listeners do it every week. We're here to talk about your film. So I rudely interrupted you. So tell our listeners as much as you feel they need to know going in to watch The Group.
Okay, so The Group is a high-concept thriller set in a addict support group. Kara is a heroin addict returning from after previously washing out about 6 months prior. Now, the group is a hotbed of rivalries, unresolved tensions, minor grudges, major grudges, and these people, nothing in common apart from their addiction. And then one night, a guy walks into the group, pulls out a gun, and takes them all hostage. And they realize that he may have some connection to their past. And if they're going to unravel that and get out of there alive, they're going to have to learn to sort of work together to sort of survive.
Yeah, perfectly put. Now, I've watched the film in preparation for the interview. Thought it was fab. Kind of like if Die Hard met Therapy, that kind of sense. That lock, that one place scenario. You've set the premise up. Tell us a little bit about where the concept for this came and how it mothballed into what we see now and is available on VOD platforms.
Well, I had been with a few support groups with family and a few friends and things like that. So I was aware of the environment. They're quite interesting places. Like I said, a lot of times in these groups, people from all walks of life don't have really anything in common apart from their addiction. And you can get a lot of like little rivalries, grudges. You can get lots of heartfelt moments and true friendships being formed. But it was interesting to see these kind of, like, they weren't quite as like cuddly love-ins as I thought they could be. They could be like, you know, a bed of sort of a bit of sniping, but also like recriminations, all sorts. And I thought to myself, I mean, other things, I was there supporting family members, so I wasn't immediately thinking about how this could benefit me as a drama. I would like to be clear on that. But I did think they were good. They were good story engines because you can generate quite a lot of conflict, and that's before someone walks in with a gun. So I kind of thought, wouldn't it be great to just take this and set something here, single location, perfect for a first film, and just sort of bring it up a notch. Take this safe space, make it an unsafe space, and just see where it goes from there, and try and create like quite a punchy thriller that was based around character and was relatively low budget to produce because, you know, one location, not that many moves, lots of dialogue, just a little section action set pieces, that kind of thing. And from there, that's where that kind of came from.
I just wanted to ask, because you've preempted me, you've mentioned this was your first feature and the single location premise. Was that always the idea from get-go? Was there a lofty idea? Because I know I've just watched M. Night Shyamalan's Trap, and I mean, that seems like a one all set within a concert, and near the end, I know it's a slight spoiler, it opens out and moves away from there, where I think, in my own humble opinion, it loses a little bit of the tension. I'm just interested in that journey from when the idea came to what we see. Was there different ideas, and then it's a case of just realizing this is the budget that we're working with, this is the cast and crew, and what we can do realistically over so many days, we're going to do this as one location?
It was very much geared towards the kind of low budget version. I don't think there was ever a really expansive version. I did work on working it with another director for a while, and that didn't quite come together. And I think there was talk of expanding it out, that perhaps whoever the culprit was outside the group, someone had to go fetch them. And I think the minute you start doing things like that, you kind of betray that concept. There is a thing with high concept films where people get a bit freaked out that it won't sustain itself. And you kind of see a film, you see the trailer, and you're like, I would like to see something that exists in that space. And I mean, M. Night Shyamalan's a bugger for doing this, like The Village, where you're like, M. Night Shyamalan does monsters. And then what you get is like, oh, not quite. You know, that sometimes that can really work, wrong footing the sort of premise. But I think sometimes you can just leave audiences feeling quite shortchanged. And I think anytime we look to kind of expand it out, it was one of those things where you realized it lost something, that the idea was just to be in that room, to just be this kind of like escalating sort of tension that just kind of went up and up and up and up and up, rather than be like, and now we break to go over here, and is someone's dad looking for them, and those kind of ways that you could do it. I mean, there was a version of the script that had a few too many someone's at the door moments that we kind of pruned and pruned to get back to, like, I think one person interrupting felt quite natural. And we knew we had Nabuse Jr. Playing Eddie. Like, we knew we had him, playing the sort of junkie John McClane up on the roof, like in the air vents. He's not quite in the air vents for anyone not seeing it, but the idea that he would be wandering the building was there, and we knew that could kind of give us a bit of an out if we needed to, but I didn't really ever want to really broaden it out.
I think you've sold a lot of people there when you said Junkie John McClane. I mean, that's you're doing your own publicity on that front there. But just now, it is a tight film. It's an hour and 10 minutes. Clocking in at that. I mean, I wanted to know. I know I've mentioned Die Hard as just one, and I guess you can't do that type of concept, that kind of the intruder coming in, holding hostage, to evoke for certainly a generation, particularly around Christmas time, of Die Hard, that festive tradition that it is. But did you have any films in mind when you were selling this to your cast and crew? I guess goes particularly as well your DOP. Did you have anything you were looking at there, say, like, think of this or think of that? The other film that comes to mind for me in a way was the Reservoir Dogs concept in that front.
Reservoir Dogs was a big one. Mostly we watched that for just how Tarantino kept the space. I mean, I'm not Quentin Tarantino, guys. I'm not Quentin Tarantino, but he was a good one to look at to see how he used the space, and he's very good at doing those like dialogue set pieces, which, you know, the dialogue is the action, that kind of thing. So that was something we drew from there. Not so much for the camera work. The camera work was, I mean, you know, we shot for kind of that David Fincher sort of Seven look, where you're mixing quite smooth moves with handheld. Andy Lit, my DOP, did an absolutely amazing job. Like, he lit the set pretty much himself. And because it was quite low budget, we had people coming in and out from various jobs. So some days he'd have a full camera crew. Some days it'd just be him. And we drafted a runner to be sort of the grip moving the track. But we came up very quickly with our idea was, once we move into the group, we're in the center, and then everything is shot from within the group. But everything outside of that was sort of fair game. Anything where people were rushing around was handheld, and we made these sort of hard and fast rules. And that kind of comes from that David Fincher Seven, and that's to the lighting and the grade, that green, sickly kind of look. A big influence was Alien, I think, oddly. I mean, not in any substantial way, more just in its kind of directness. Like, Alien is very much a straight shot. There's bits on the periphery of like, what's that? What's going on here? But really, it is outside antagonist comes in and survive. And these people trying to sort of just get through it. And that was something we were trying to harness. It's also quite a performance-led film. So again, that really came in handy. But otherwise, we were looking at a lot of single location stuff, like Cube was a big one. Again, dialogue-driven, kind of trying to move it forward. And a British film that I'm quite a fan of called My Little Eye, that was directed by a guy called Mark Evans about 20 years ago or something. It's sort of a Big Brother style live stream event, had Bradley Cooper in it, weirdly. And but it has a real meanness to it, like a kind of like mean-spiritedness, which was quite shocking. I remember when I first saw it at the time, and I wanted a little bit of that edge in there as well.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. And tell me about the casting of your xenomorph of types, because it's Dylan Baldwin, isn't it?
Dylan
Yeah,
Baldwin. Dylan
yeah.
Baldwin turns up all over the shop. You know, usually playing gruff police officers and gangster types and things like that. He is the loveliest man. And he came in, I think we did pretty much the casting over the course of about 2 days. He came in on the first day. And on that first day, we managed to get out of it Jenny, who plays Charlie, Dylan, Mike, and I think Tom all came out of that first casting session. But Dylan, I mean, Dylan doesn't know this probably, but he actually made it into the storyboards after his first audition. Because we're like, well, it's him. I mean, hopefully he says yes, because now every single time we draw the character or think about him or look at him, he looks like Dylan. But he really brought that kind of like quiet kind of menace. And the thing is, we saw lots of different permutations of Jack. We saw manic versions. We saw quite low-key ones. There was the guy that turned up and brought his own gun, which, you know, was disconcerting to say the least. When he pulled it out, I did think, well, yeah, I mean, I guess this is how it's going to go then. Didn't give the performance I expected him to, really. The gun was doing a lot of the work. But he really, on set, he would be really chipper, keep everyone upbeat between takes, because they were fairly long days and fairly long takes. You know, you're running the camera for like 10 minutes of people just playing out scenes. And he is basically the person that drags the camera around. He's the only one that can move. So it was up to him and his blocking to just keep things moving and to kind of like dictate the framing, moving into people's space, moving out, moving around. And that's a big responsibility. And he, you know, I mean, I couldn't be happier with what he brought to it.
I know we're pushed for time and you have other people to speak to. One thing I just wanted to mention, just because it's low budget, you're working within the confines of that. Given that scenario, then not much prep time, or was prep time an important aspect for the film?
Prepping a script is just me in my pants. So there's plenty of that. And that's the bit you need to get right. I think from deciding we were going to do it, initially I was going to do a proof of concept short, and I have a friend of mine who makes low budget films in Australia. He's called Rick Forster. There's a web series called Flunk, which teenagers love. And I said, I'm thinking of doing this short. And he was like, why? And I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, the minute you get all that kit, all those actors into a single space, you might as well just shoot the whole thing. And I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So I guess for the price of a short, we did a feature film. And that, but so when I decided to do it, it was probably about mid-June, and we were shooting by January. I mean, the good thing is you do once we'd cast it, and we cast most people by the end of the summer. I think October, we were a bit later casting Angelina and Seth, Luke, because they were just difficult parts to get right. Someone else was supposed to be playing Luke, and they dropped out. So then Luke came on board. Evangelina was a difficult one because you needed someone to kind of put up against Jack. And a lot of the people we cast just didn't really have the presence. It just came across as a bit petulant. And then Evangelina's she's like 5'11", 6 foot, something like that. And quite angular. So she had even sat down, she's got she was believable when she was kind of a force against them. So yeah, it was probably about 6 months end to end of actually prepping the where's the location going to be? Okay, here's the cast. But by that point, we'd been through the film so many times because you just got people in a circle pretty much and did the read through, and you have more or less had the film. We shot a few bare versions just to see how things were working.
So in total, the film itself, how many days were you out shooting?
A bit of a weird one. So it was about 12 days, but the place we were filming was a religious center, so we couldn't film on Friday nights to Saturday nights, and the days we could film, we could only, because we needed darkness, you'd start getting ready at midday. This was during the winter, wasn't it? January. So midday, about 4 o'clock, it's getting dark. You're shooting by 5. We've got to be finished by 10, 11. So it was about 10, 12 days, but they were very short days, really. I think we were doing one take. We were like, was the performance good? It was fantastic. Was it in focus? Yes, it was. Okay, moving on.
Sounds very Clint Eastwood-esque. Yes, that's enough of that. We'll move on. We are going to wrap up because, as I say, you have other people to speak to. But I believe the film played Fright Fest.
Well, it played in Fright Fest 2022, and that would have been 20 years from when I went to my first Fright Fest at the Prince Charles. So we were in the Discovery screen, so we were in the Prince Charles. I think I worked out that on the Saturday we watched it, me and my friend who I used to go to Fright Fest with for many years would have been watching 1 hour photo, which, I mean, you can draw your own conclusions about whether or not you think I'm the new Mark Romanek, but I think it won't necessarily fall in my favor. But it was just a great experience because when you were a kid, I would have been about 16, 17, and I would have been thinking, wouldn't it be great to have a film screening at Fright Fest? And then 20 years later, I'm stood on the stage looking out everybody in the Prince Charles. And so it was a really amazing feeling. It suddenly felt really kind of real after you've spent, whatever it is, a year, in post, pulling loads of favors. Does it work? Does it not work? And then just to see it with an audience, especially an audience like the ones at Fright Fest that really, really interact with it and really let you know what they think. And that was really absolutely amazing.
The audience is just the great democracy of cinema. They'll tell you if they like something, they'll tell you if they don't. So, well, it's been fantastic to chat to you. As I say, the film's out now on VOD platforms. Check it out, and who knows, our paths shall cross. This has been your first feature. I'm sure you've been busy on other things since. We look forward to hearing on future projects. Well, thank you very much. So that's me talking with the director of the group. As I say, it's available on VOD platforms now. Low budget. I thought it was a lean, efficient thriller, kind of nods to Die Hard and kind of its central setup. I know you haven't seen it, Adam, but yeah, worthwhile viewing. But as I say, it is, going with expectations. It's a low budget thriller. It's not. Probably the marketing side, I don't even know. I don't know what would be comparable in terms of that film's budget to Beetlejuice. Probably the check Jeffrey Jones got for his likeness, probably more depressingly than the budget. But yeah, I thought it was fun. I look forward to see what William, the director, does next. And this is a section where we each talk about something we haven't seen, or one of us have seen, I'm busting to see Kneecap. I've never seen them perform, but really intrigued by the film. Seems to have gone down massively well. It's the Ireland's official entry for next year's Academy Awards. The Academy Award. It picked up quite a few awards at the Galway Film Fleadh, along with others as well. We're going to play a little clip now, and then Adam's going to share his thoughts.
They called our generation the ceasefire babies. As if our only defining feature was we were not the shit that came before us. Maybe they were right. Maybe we were only ever going to be the moment after the moment. Just as fucked up and miserable as the last, only with less chance of getting blown up to escape it all. But we still found ways to escape it all. You've heard of intergenerational trauma, right?
Right.
Our history.
Our history has become
our biology.
It's like the trauma our ancestors suffered
has inserted itself.
Has actually inserted itself into our genetic code. Post-traumatic stress disorder.
Psychological
reverberations. ADHD. ODD.
So that's a clip of Kneecap. Adam, I haven't seen this yet, depressingly. Hopefully I will get a chance to see it soon. You have. What did you think?
It's a movie I was busting to see, and depressingly, we got invited to the premiere in West Belfast, and we were meant to interview Kneecap. And unfortunately, the night of, and actually the week leading up to it, there was, in Kneecap fashion, riots all over Belfast, and I couldn't leave my house. But I finally got to see it. Took a trek by myself into the cinema one day, and went in with low expectations. It's depressing to say that, a Northern Irish movie doesn't really get me excited. Even though I am from Northern Ireland and I want to make movies, it's depressing to say.
Come on now, Adam, say it properly, right? It's none of this. Northern Ireland. It's Northern Ireland, mate. Northern Ireland.
Well, if you ask the Kneecap boys, it's the north of Ireland. But
the six divided counties.
Went in, and the movie just starts with a fucking kick of adrenaline, just like Trainspotting does. Just kicks off running and doesn't stop for the whole hour, 45 minutes. I had never really listened to Kneecap before. I was just a fan of them and what they were doing. They are this rebellious group from West Belfast that are trying, to really push forward Irish language in the whole of Ireland. And it's sort of what the movie's backdrop is about. The movie starts the day of Stormont, the dissolving because of the Irish Language Act, and that's the whole background of what they're doing and why they're doing what they're doing. But then you have the three lads, you have Mo Cara, you have Mowgli Bap, and you have DJ Provy, which is hilarious, wears a green, white, and orange balaclava. And they sort of, it's the by the books sort of tale of how a band comes together and they're raised to fame. But it's so excellently done that you don't feel like you can see every beat coming. And there's lovely references to other Northern Irish movies. There's a big one at the start that is a reference to the poster of Mickey Bo and Me, which I would love to have talked to the director about. It's just like such a nice little nod to Northern Irish movies. You sit watching.
Do they reference Your Highness as well?
Natalie Portman actually gets her arse out. There's so many places that I'm sitting like DiCaprio Once Upon a Time in Hollywood going, fucking, I've been there, I know that place. And it's good to just sit in a cinema and sort of just see your culture and, the places you grew up and the people that and it's good to see that on the big screen and see it do so well around the world, because it is sort of a really inclusive movie that everybody can get behind. Even if you're not a fan of rap music, you can see the enthusiasm, and the humor in the movie it's spectacular. There's a a bit where Mokara is having sex with a Protestant girl in the village, a place where I used to live, and he walks down an alleyway and there's some orange men practicing, and Mokara is slowly walking past them, trying to get past them, and as soon as he passes them, he says, "Yo, fucking Rangers are shite," and then it cuts to a scene of Mokara sprinting in slow motion down Tate's Avenue Bridge with orange men chasing him, and it's just such a like cinematic moment that you would never think of. Because I crossed that bridge many a time and never thought this should be in a movie, you know. But great little film. I've become, you know, fans of theirs. I've booked tickets to go see them in December now. I've bought some of their merch. I've started learning Irish on Duolingo. I tried it before and fell off it, and the movie just pushes a positive message about the Irish language and community, and it isn't a movie. I don't want people listening to this who are, you know, are of the Protestant community listening to this and thinking, oh, well, fuck them, and, you know, they say this and that about Ireland and fucking Northern Ireland. They aren't against, you know, the other side. They aren't against the British people. They're just fighting for their right, and it's just a nice movie, even though it is full of cocaine and ketamine and ease and fucking everything else. It is just a nice movie that really shows Belfast for what it is, the nitty and gritty, and just the sense of community we all have in Belfast. And to see it do so well worldwide, I really hope it gets to the Oscars. Not just to see them boys on the fucking red carpet, because that'll be crazy, but you know, we had the Irish Goodbye win a few years ago, and it'd be great to show the world what Belfast can actually do.
Yeah, I agree with you on that front. I'm looking forward to seeing the film. Hopefully, I'm going to see it in the next couple of weeks. I'm hoping if it's released on VOD, or because I know some of the producers, if they want to send us a wee screener, let me watch it. Or if Kneecap just want to come around and perform, reenact it, and bring Michael round, my ma would love that, and she'd be very excited about that. And Michael wants to bring his lovely wife. I'll chat with her. I'll Alicia, make her a wee cup of tea, and maybe she's mates with Monica Bellucci. But yes, I don't know. So looking forward to seeing that. I'm hopefully by the time we get round to the end of year show, I'll have seen Kneecap, but I can wax lyrical about that, because I've been looking forward to see it, just with various, as I say, the various bits and bobs been going on. Didn't get a chance to see it, and just the screening times now at various cinemas, it hasn't aligned for me. But look, as I've mentioned, I've been at home a lot recently with various bits and bobs. I'm doing okay. For the people that have been very concerned about getting in touch, like one person, "You okay, Jim? Yeah, right." It's like, I'm fine. Trust me, I'm getting better. But I've been watching a lot of stuff at home. Mostly, actually, this last month has been like TV shows and kind of various stuff. Only Murders in the Building is back, which I fucking love. Martin Short, Steve Martin, and Selena Gomez. Just before we started to record this episode, I was actually watching the latest episode. Look forward to going back to sitting to that. But watching a lot of stuff like that. But one movie I did catch on Netflix, because I was intrigued, was latest film by Lee Daniels, The Deliverance, with largely black cast and Glenn Close. And it's a weird little film, horror movie, with all the kind of nods and, you know, that we'd expect to, you know, Exorcist movies that we've seen in the past. Before I get into my review, let's play a little clip.
Ma, did you even hear yourself in there? Oh, I'm sorry, doctor. My little black daughter must be confused. Damn, the kids are sick, man. All you care about is whether I'm acting right or not. Don't you fucking support me?
I support you. Maybe she's right. Do you ever think of that? Maybe sometimes other people are right, and you don't got the answers to everything in the world. That idea ever go across your thick head? Maybe there is something else going on with those kids.
You got something you want to say to me?
What the hell happened last night? I saw the marks on Nate. You beat them kids, Ebony.
You got some nerve on you. If you wasn't old and sick, I'll lay you the fuck out right now.
If you hit them again, I'm gonna turn you in myself.
Never turned you in. You the same, Ma. Cook your collard greens and play Stevie Wonder. Fuck all these black men. You just like every other white bitch out here. Down with niggas till it's really time to be down with niggas. Fake bitch. Get in my fucking car. What y'all doing?
Fuck you, bitch.
Shantae, get in my car.
So that's a clip of The Deliverance. As I say, it's available now on Netflix. Adam, I'm nearly certain you haven't seen this.
Nope.
And I don't think you've missed much. I really was bored by this. And I feel... I don't know, maybe it's just where I am right now. I've just been really critical of stuff of late and just stuff watching. And I know it's kind of a cliche. I remember Gavin Moriarty, who's been on the pod. We're hoping to get him on the show and get him on the pod again. The last time I think we had him on was for Aliens. And Gavin used to come up and talk to me. It's like, the worst thing a film can do is waste my time. And I've always been the person who's been like, my time's not that precious. Like, I will sit and spend 15, 20 minutes happily on the toilet, maybe at the minute trolling through TikTok and, finding random shite to send on to my lovely wife to keep our streak going. But with The Deliverance, I was bored. I mean, every kind of cliche you can think of, to the point where they don't even want to call it an exorcism. They want to call it the deliverance. That's the term they use. It's like, just call it a fucking exorcism. That's it. It reminded me a lot, and it's kind of central conceit of The Exorcist Believer, which was not a cinematic masterpiece by any mind, but I don't know. And then we've Glenn Close, who is a tremendous actor, who I will watch in pretty much anything, and she's a cinematic chameleon when she wants to be. She's kind of playing this role. You've mentioned you've seen the photos. Watch the trailer, you'll get to see her. Watch the film. It's a role where she stands out amongst everything else. It's both a good thing and a bad thing. In that sense, she's given this. She's went all in for the performance. I just think it's like you're in a different film. You're in a different film. It's like you're in the Offspring wannabe gangster, that kind of video. That's kind of what you're in at times. And the worst thing I can say about a horror film, if it's not scary, it's not scary. It does feel like something that's maybe been retooled and reshot, and it's a little bit all over the place. I just want to get the name of the central actor. I think is pretty good. Andra Day, I think she's solid in the central role. It's just kind of post-Conjuring, sub all that, James Wan. Lee Daniels has clearly kind of come in here and said, I want to try and do something elevated, darling. I want to do elevated horror that's going to be so clever and smart and it's not smug, but it's just, we have seen it. We have seen this. A house can be bad. We've seen it with Amityville. We've seen The Exorcist. We've seen The Conjuring. All that kind of stuff is there. And it's not scary. It's not fun. Glenn Close is probably the best thing in it. But I don't know. It's just her performance. It's a weird role. That's all I'm going to say. But look, that's available on Netflix now. Seek it out if you so wish. If, we're coming into spooky season, I think there's more fun to be had watching, bona fide classics like The Exorcist as opposed to this. I always say, usually I'll come back and say a film's fine, but watch something else, kids. I don't know.
I haven't seen it, but Glenn Close looks like John Voight in Anaconda after he's been eaten by the anaconda.
Well, yeah, I don't want to get into bits and bobs about her character because there's things medically her character's going through. But yeah, as I say, she stands out, and she is, as always with Glenn Close, she has this great screen presence. It's just that I don't know if it was the right thing to cast her. I mean, it's great to see her in this horror movie. She'll probably be the draw for a lot of people because, Glenn Close wouldn't do a shit film. Yeah, if the paycheck's right, of course she fucking will. Every fucking one has their limits. But no, I it's one of those films I watched because we were going to record this a couple of weeks ago, and I panicked when I realised I have watched fuck all. Adam. So it's like, fuck, I need to watch something, and then unfortunately just for various bits and bobs we couldn't record the Ramble. So yeah, I'm kind of glad that, although I didn't like Beetlejuice, I'm glad I got to talk about that in this week's pod, and it allows us then to move on to Alien Romulus, which we have both seen, which we're going to wrap up this week's show on. The last time when we were going to record, I just wasn't feeling particularly well, and it was around cinema day. I'd booked myself lovely tickets to go see it on the IMAX screen for only £4. Just wasn't feeling up to go into the cinema, and I'm a little bit self-conscious because, as I always kind of say, you might hear it sometimes during this little recording at the minute. I have a little pump attached to me at the minute, listeners. If you hear a little, it's not a vibrator, but then that's what I want you to think. And I was a bit self-conscious because it was going to be a packed screening, and I didn't really want that going off. Did you partake of Cinema Day? Not Alien Romulus, obviously, but did you partake of Cinema Day, Adam?
No, I was doing a big work, but also anything like that. As much as Cinema Day, woohoo, celebrate cinema. I'm a big go to the cinema at 9 a.m. so nobody else is there sort of day. Like I was saying to you before the pod, went and seen an early screening of Speak No Evil this morning for the telly show. So watch the telly show to get my thoughts on that. And that's a film that's, got plenty of terrible things happening to children, a lot of domestic abuse stuff. And me and the girlfriend were watching it, and then just a few rows behind us, a guy was just pacing himself laughing anytime one of the kids got abused. So you really can't win with the cinema these days. You either packed with a lot of cinema wankers, or you've just one crazy guy behind you.
Now, Adam, you mentioned this, because I was going to say, we'll not mention this in the pod, because Deadpool Wolverine, time has passed. On the last Ramble, you had seen it, and you weren't that fussed on it. You weren't negative. You were just lukewarm. You were still thawing about the film. It was just sitting in the microwave waiting to be cooked. But I had seen Deadpool Wolverine. Like you, I think it's fine. I did have a little chuckle to myself when I'm thinking about your new norm comments. There is quite a lot of that. I mean, I know if you go on Facebook now, a lot of the cameos have been spoiled. We'll still give viewers a little bit of, we'll wait to the end of the year. I know you mentioned a few, but you talk about chuckles, Adam. My lovely wife and I. Now, I feel bad after my little statement I've just made where we're not going to spoil things. But my lovely wife got very annoyed when we went to see the film. We had a Chuckles McGinty sitting behind us in the cinema, and we didn't want to record it during the film. So we waited to the credits. So unfortunately, listeners, there's a bit of a spoiler, and you'll hear maybe a familiar voice from previous Fox movies and more recent MCU movies. You'll hear us voice talking, but just I'll play it for you, but hopefully you can hear what we had to put up with for nearly 2 hours at every time Ryan Reynolds' character Deadpool pretty much opened his mouth. So apologise in advance. I know it's a slight spoiler. We're not saying who it is, but here we go.
Hey, little boy, you're either food for a lion or you work for her. Go on, Johnny. And I'll tell you who her is. Cassandra Nova, a megalomaniacal psychotic asshole. A finger-licking bag-inside pixie slab, a third-rate dime store nut. And I'll tell you what she can do. I'm listening. She can lick my goddamn cinnamon ring clean and kick rocks all the way to bald hell. In fact, I don't give a shit if she removes all my skin and pops me like some nightmarish blood balloon. If the last thing I do in this godforsaken cum-gutter existence is light that fuckbox on fire, I still won't die happy.
Holy shit, girl, you crazy.
That's right, Wade. I won't be happy until I've urinated on her freshly barbecued corpse and husk-fucked the charred remains while gargling juggernauts jugging nuts. Wow. And you can quote me. Okay.
Now, hopefully you can hear that, listeners. We had to put up with that for 2 hours. Sitting
Didn't
right
know you
behind.
seen the movie with Eddie Murphy.
That would be unkind to Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy's retired, that laugh. That fucker's trying to take it out of retirement. But imagine, listeners, we always do our little... We used to do this in the previous guys of the show. And I do feel we should bring it back for the Rambles. We used to do our Cinema Wanker of the Week. I think we need Cinema Wankers of the Month. I want people to drop in their messages to us, go, what has been your Cinema Wanker? And I always say this, we have our Cinema Wankers. We also want to hear your Cinema Heroes. You know, the people when you come in, and they come in with their big bag of crisps, and then they're like, nom, 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 and then you turn round, and they're like, oh, sorry, we'll put them away. Or they've brought their little crisp bag in, but they've brought them in like a little paper bag so they don't make a big rustle. You know, I don't know, I kind of think. But yeah, Chuckles McGinty sitting behind us for 2 hours in Deadpool Wolverine, doing that thing. We're meant to be talking about Alien Romulus at this point, but doing that thing, Adam, where, because like 3 other people, doing like the delayed laugh, where it was almost like because somebody else laughed, he felt the need to laugh. Laugh louder than everybody else. Right. And I don't know, can you turn around to someone and say, here, fuck up, Chuckles? I'm sure you could, but he's not talking. He's not talking through the film, but he just has a really fucking annoying laugh. I don't know. Messaging listeners, should I have intervened? Should I have said something? I don't know. Where do you stand this, Adam, before we move on to Alien Romulus?
Because it's a comedy, I suppose I would have let it pass, but like you and Amber, I would have been like, what the fuck was that once we left the screen? But it's a tough one to call. I wouldn't have said anything to him, but I would have done a wee passive aggressive. All right, G, when it was quiet.
Calm down. You certainly got your fucking money's worth with the laughs. But anyway, I wonder if he went to see Alien Romulus and laughed his way through that. So before we get chatting about the movie and wrap up this week's pod, let's play a little clip of Alien Romulus.
Wait. Do you see it? There.
Fucking thing's hunting us. Right. New plan. Can you manage yourself with the gun? Yes, I fucking can. Right, this is an F-44AA pulse rifle. It's rotating breech electronic pulse action. That's what the Colonial Marines used. AA stands for aiming assist. So, right, you put that under your arm. That's it. Right, this hand here. Aim it towards Andy. Pull the trigger halfway. Don't worry, the safety's on. See? Aiming assistance. That thing comes towards you. You point it in this general direction, you'll never miss.
Where'd you learn all this?
Games and magazines.
So that's a clip of the film, the latest entry within the Alien franchise, set between the events of Scott's original and James Cameron's Aliens. Here we have a group, a ragtag little group, who make their way onto a research vessel that's supposedly abandoned, Adam, only to find it's full of facehuggers, xenomorphs, and a terrible, terrible CGI rendered face of the late, great Ian Holm. I'm going to say that I know that's a spoiler. I apologise, but oh, Adam, the first time that pops up, it's like, oh, that doesn't really work. And they stick with it. For a lot of the film, they stick with it. So, Freddy Alvarez, who, of course, directed the Evil Dead remake, which I hate. I'll say it from the get-go. Don't Breathe. Didn't they do Crawl as well? The alligator movie? No,
that was Alexandra Aja.
There we go. Apologies, Alexander. But he did Don't Breathe. I liked the first one. Didn't like the sequel. So, here we have, as I say, this restart, we'll say, of the Alien franchise. It's given itself a launch pad. It's still set very much within the timeline post the events of the first movie. There's still, we'll get to this, I guess, Ridley Scott's a producer in this project. There's still quite a lot, some people will like, some people won't like, of Prometheus an alien covenant within this film's DNA. More on that in just a moment. But generally, Adam, what do you think?
As Prometheus and Covenant lovers, Jim, that we are, I want people that whenever Prometheus came out said that the Prometheus group, the crew, made the most stupid decisions in any movie ever. I want those people to sit down and watch Romulus and not tell me that they made even dumber fucking decisions than the Prometheus crowd, because fuck me, watching this film, semi not torturous. I've seen worse movies in the cinema this year, but just watching it, hoping for something better, and what you're getting is sort of the greatest hits of both Alien and Aliens mixed in with a group of characters that you couldn't really care about. The main girl is decent, and it's been a while now, but the android character that plays her like semi brother, he is probably the most interesting character
Yeah,
in the whole
David
movie.
Johnson. Yeah, David Johnson's fab in this.
He's great, and the rest of the cast, Dora the Explorer, lets out a good scream at one point. The wee dickhead character, is just an idiot, and the cousin of him is just pointless. But you're watching, hoping for something good, and the movie kind of starts. You could slot this in between Alien and Aliens, and it would make sense sort of in the timeline. And they do reference some of the Prometheus stuff, and I don't know. It's just a lot of the things annoyed me in it. The set pieces were interesting until you thought about them for more than 4 seconds, and then you're like, "Fucking hold on!" Like the whole, we need to get this room to a certain temperature, and the facehuggers won't see us. 4 seconds after that, run to be alright. Don't turn on the anti-gravity because the acid will put a hole in the ground, as if anti-gravity makes acid not touch the ground. I don't know, and then just everybody in the cinema moaned the moment that the line "Get away from her, you bitch" was said. I think there's been so many things online of people just being like, yeah, everybody in the cinema moaned at that line. But I don't know. I don't have a big love for Aliens or Alien or the franchise. I watch them, I enjoy 1, 2, 3, and 4. The only ones I don't really enjoy are Alien versus Predator. I enjoy them for what they are, but this is like the lesser of all those movies. It just didn't really have the science aspect that I like in those movies, and having the Ian Holm character, for as much as it does feel like fucking, just digging a dead man up, they didn't need. It doesn't even make sense for it to be Ian Holm. Just have a different android. Just have anybody else.
Here's my thought on that. Right. So the key thing to say, it's not Ash. So it's not Ash. It's just, think of the David and Walter thing from Alien Covenant and Prometheus. So it's the same actor playing a different synthetic, because of course you think about it, they're made in a factory, so of course they're going to look like each other. So I'll get that. I forget the name of the character that he's playing, but he's there basically visually to go, oh, he's a bad one, like old Ash was in the first one. It would have made more sense probably to have him as Ash somehow recovered, and then you could have just had his face. I think Mark Kermode talked about this. Just have his face deformed, and then you're solved with that. There's a couple of times with this character, because it pops up and you think, oh, it's going to be a cameo, but he becomes quite an important part of the plot. There's times when you see him physically, it doesn't work. There's something about his face isn't the right size, and his ears seem fucking massive. When you see him physically on screen, it doesn't work. There's times when you see him, he's just on a screen. It kind of works. And I think it's not great, but it works better than when he's meant to be there physically in the room with our crew. I think, isn't it Kaylee Spaney, if I'm getting that right with her name? I think she's a good proxy Ripley in that sense of her character arc. But there's a lot of shots where it's like, you talked about this, where it's like replica of the way she's kind of shot. There's sequences where she's got the gun, she's kind of going around and she's looking up. It's like, well, fuck, that's just from Aliens. That's what they've done there. I want to be more positive about it. I think Visually, it looks fab. Visually, it looks fab. That kind of used universe feel, the planet they're on at the start, the Whalen Yutani, and kind of that kind of grungy, kind of tech noir, almost Blade Runner-esque kind of world that they live on. The starships, or the starships feel like it's Star Trek, but how they're getting to this disused vessel, it feels in the way that I wanted Prometheus to be, because Prometheus just feels odd. As much as I love those two films and accept that they are flawed, I think Prometheus's problem for me was the tech. Visually, it just looked too modern and shiny, as opposed to what we got in the first Alien film and even in Aliens. And I know Ridley Scott talked about this being, well, this is a private billionaire is funding and created this Prometheus vessel, so it's the best of the best. It's all brand new. By the time we get to Alien, that's kind of grungy and used. I kind of like that visually. It felt more like Scott's film. My central issue, and I don't want to be the big Prometheus and Covenant defender. Yeah, it's a repeat of what we've seen before, although we talked about this before when the first trailer arrived, or first trailer dropped, when the focus from the xenomorph to the facehuggers, you realise, watching this film really, I'll be honest, how unscary the aliens are now, in the sense that it's like, oh, what are they going to do? Get out their wee mouth and go, he ain't going to get you. Going to get... Scott's right. I think the beast is done. I think, and we'll come to this, you have to do something with that Alien franchise to make the xenomorph scary again. I know they try something in this, and there's a lot of nods. There's a lot of nods in the setup of this film to Alien Resurrection. You have a spaceship where you've got your ticking clock. It's about to crash into, I think it's into the atmosphere. Just it's going to crash in this film. I think in the Resurrection is going to crash into Earth. So you've got that. There's an attempt to the aforementioned do something with the aliens and the old, we got to fuck about with the old black goo DNA stuff that we were so focused on with Prometheus and Covenant. My thing is, I think all they've really done, they had a mad synthetic in David in Covenant. Well, not so much. He's a curious synthetic in Prometheus. He's Dr. Frankenstein, essentially, in Alien Covenant. They've essentially just swapped him out for a poorly rendered Ian Holm. You could put... I mean, I was just thinking about this after watching. Would it have made more sense? Maybe not, to have Fassbender back in that role. Would it have improved the film? I don't know. I don't know, because the fact he's meant to be off on another side of the universe with a ton of this black goo and a ton of people in cryo sleep that he can fucking meddle about with and do whatever he wants with. That's the thing. I think everyone who doesn't like the stuff with David, it's like, well, if we swap him out, we'll get Ian Holm kind of back. R.I.P. Great actor. He's not actually Ash, though. But I think it's only... Most people, when they watch it, will think, oh, fuck, it's Ash. Jesus, he's back. But he's still only got half a body, but he's back. And, like, watching it, like, to the start, I thought, it was like, oh, is this going to be an interesting... Because it's Scott producing this. Is this going to be an interesting kind of idea? The deleted scene from Alien, where we see that, isn't it, the captain... It's not... is it Deckard? No, what? No, it's not Deckard. It's the replica. What's the captain in the first Alien? Dallas. We see Dallas being cocooned and turned into a big fucking ginormous egg that I think we now assume is now the alien queen egg that's being... or being maybe cocooned into an alien queen. That's what so at the start of that film, you see in Romulus, they're going off and they're exploring where the Nostromo was self-destructed. They find this cocoon. It's not that I thought, oh, is this going to be that? Is this a little nod to a deleted scene? But it's not. Essentially, the alien, when it's blown out into space, just kind of cocoons itself. So I guess that also then leaves the option, if they want to do a sequel, didn't the same thing happen to the alien queen in Aliens, so she probably just cocooned herself up. So there we've got a possible plot point for if we're going to carry on with this franchise. I didn't have the same issues with you with the set pieces. I agree with you. Once you sit back and think about them, they're like, oh, okay, yeah. But I think at the time, they're quite well done. Alvarez knows how to build tension in a set piece. The 0G alien blood is fun. The stuff with the face huggers, I just think it's the right thing to do, is to shift the focus onto them, because they're I think equally as terrifying, if not more so, than the xenomorphs themselves. This perfect organism. I just came away once it kind of got into the Prometheus stuff, and once we venture down into this vessel and we see this big kind of case of black goo, it's like, oh, are they either going to do one of two things here? Are they going to go, well, we're going to do the black goo, but it's going to be, we're ignoring all the Prometheus stuff? And I kind of commend them, the fact that they've said, you know what, fuck it, we've had Prometheus, we've had Alien Covenant, we're not just going to retcon and ignore all those. So this has happened, we have this black goo, and there's a reference to the ship being lost. There's a reference with the score. I think they play a little bit of the Prometheus score at the point where Ian Holmes' character's talking about it. It's just that, like Alien Resurrection, this abomination, I think is what the term they use. One of our characters is pregnant in the film. I think, isn't it Dora herself is pregnant. She injects herself with this black goo because she's more or less told, oh, it'll help you survive because you've been fatally wounded during this assault involving the xenomorphs. And, oh, don't worry, nothing will happen to your wee baby inside your tummy. And when I was like, this is wrapping itself up. It's like, oh, what's this going to do? Is this going to do a Romulus kind of thing? I thought they were going to maybe do it and then leave it on a cliffhanger. That was like, oh, fuck, is that going to be your next installment? It didn't work for me. 2 CGI, a bit like Ian Holmes. So you've got this pseudo engineer, human, alien hybrid that not scary, didn't give a fuck about. Probably preferred the Great White Turd from Alien Resurrection.
Didn't have the same eyebrows.
No, didn't have the same eyebrows. And I love the fact that they're basically saying, look, whether you like it or not, it's a bit like Doctor Who with Russell T Davies. It's like, see all that fucking stuff, the Doctor's not from Gallifrey. You thought we were going to wipe that underneath the carpet? No, it's part of the lineage now. We're going to embrace it. I commend that, and I'm glad they're doing that. And they've probably, in a weird way, left it. Should they ever want to, they could bring David back now, because that's still part of that. And I'm just on board for more of Michael Fassbender. You do the blowing, I'll do the fingering. Yes, Mr. Fassbender. Yes, you will. I don't know. The abomination stuff. I know we're in spoiler territory and we haven't done a spoiler warning. I apologize, listeners. We'll put it in the listing on the episode. But did that work? I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it because it's just like the Dr. Frankenstein thing. But we've had that with Covenant, and people had this really negative reaction to it. And the same people, like I was talking to, like, there's Dean, the guy Dean that works at NVTV behind the schedule, who works behind the scenes, who hates Prometheus and hates Covenant, but yet it's like, oh, it looks fab because it just feels like Alien. It looks like Alien. It's like, yeah, but they're just doing the fucking same thing than what Scott did with the last 2 films. And Scott, what he wanted to do with his stories, his fascination with creation and destruction, was skewed by the fact producers were like, this is an Alien prequel, it's Alien franchise, you need to have a xenomorph, you need to have this stuff in the film. So he was like, well, fuck it. In the first film, there you go, there's an Alien thing at the very last credit. Aye, there it goes, connects in. Alien Covenant, it's like he does his own thing in the last 10-15 minutes, a bit like Romulus gives us a rerun of classic scenes from the first 2 films in particular. It's fine. I think Hayley Spaney, I quite like. I mean, she's had a hell of a year between this, Civil War, and Priscilla. Great actor. I think the name of the actor, apologies, from David Johnson is amazing as Andy. And have people have this? I know I've went off. I haven't given you a chance, Adam, to come back on any of my rambly points, but I think in a weird way, Scott's kind of right in the sense, aliens themselves, xenomorphs, what really can you do with them other than if you wanted, go to their home planet or something like that, but we can't do that because you're embracing the Prometheus stuff. And maybe the synthetics is the way. I don't know. I mean, I would guess the money this has made, it makes a sequel likely. I would guess by the largely positive response, apart from you and me, it seems that Freddy Alvarez will be asked back. I know we have a TV show coming out next year where the aliens are coming to Earth. Intrigued to see what happens there. Maybe it'll just set up the events of Alien versus Predator. I don't know. I know I asked that question and didn't even give you a chance to answer, Adam. Did any of that stuff, particularly the finale, did that work for you at all?
Not particularly. And just to say too, if you want some Michael Fassbender, go watch Kneecap. Great on it. No, it's one of those things that I wish Scott would just make a third of his trilogy, kind of explaining that story. And I think there's a real problem with people when they talk about aliens, when creative people talk about aliens or working on a game or working on the comics or working on any sort of thing, they always say it's based between aliens or alien and aliens. They always say it. It's like in Star Wars when you just have like it's between this movie and this movie, so you have to understand the timeline. And it's like, don't you guys sort of want a fucking haunted house movie with a stalker that's an alien? That's all you sort of want, and you kind of get it in this for a bit with the facehuggers. The one thing that sort of annoyed me was the kid that's like, it's something in the water, something in the water. There's a whole like fucking 10-minute sequence of them.
I don't know, there's something in the water!
There's something in the water!
Mary Poppins, what am I going to do, Mary Poppins? Oh my God, it's me, Dick Van Dyke, something in the water!
What do you want from a trolley? I'll take the lot in the water!
Have any lollies? I love a lolly, but hang on, there's something in the water, Mary Poppins. Step in time.
It's that whole sequence where like they're getting attacked the whole time and then they don't get anything in them, and then immediately there's a woman outside the door and she gets fucking wiped out within seconds.
Can I know I'm cutting across you again. Coming back to Ridley Scott, and I know if Gavin Moriarty's listening. I haven't asked him actually if he's watched Romulus or not, but the chestburster scene was just as like, I think back to that first day, the first time I ever seen Alien, it was like, fucking hell, that sequence is amazing. The first time the chestburster sequence, it's fucking unreal. And I know over the years it's lost its gravitas and it's been replicated in other films. We kind of know what's going to happen when Facehugger does its thing, and I know other people, like particularly I think the Alien Predator movies really started this, and I think we talked about this previously, Adam, where it's like we have the fast gestation times now. It's like, right, well, once it's done, only like a day or two. It's like I think before it's like days between when that happens in the first film, not on screen, but in terms of like the running order. But no, it's like, it seems like it's a matter of like hours or minutes in the case.
It's definitely minutes, because they're like, oh, we have 45 minutes before this like thing crashes, and the whole alien thing is in that 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's mental. And I know the kind of which I don't think we'd seen before. I quite like the kind of cocoon. There's an element where there's something in the water. There's something in that cocoon thing. I'll just prod it here. Will I, Mary Poppins? All right, step in time. And I kind of like that thing. And I quite like, so we have our Andy, our robot, who gets a bit of an upgrade earlier on and kind of becomes a pseudo villain of sorts in that sense. It's like he's following the company's line, and there's a great sequence where old Dora the Explorer, her vessel has crashed, and that alien is kind of stalking her, and there's a door, and on one side is our little group, and on the other side is her with this alien behind her, and he's like, well, it wants us to open that fucking door so it can get into us. There are bits of it I like. I'm more positive about this than I am Beetlejuice, because I just think there's a little bit more there. There's set pieces I like. There's things I like. The fact that it's trying to embrace the Prometheus stuff, which just I like, because I know it's going to annoy people. I know there's people like Gavin Moriarty will be watching this film going, oh, this is fucking great. Get me a fucking alien queen now and I'll be fucking happy. And then it gets down to that and you hear the talk of Prometheus, and I can just imagine, not that Gavin smokes, but just putting down his cigarette, well, this is fucking shite. Let me just go on to fucking Letterboxd here and repeat a review where I'm going to fucking tell everybody about I fucking hate Prometheus. I think Prometheus is a flawed film. I just think I'm going to go back all the way back. I know this is a rant for me, Adam. I'm going to go back to Beetlejuice, right? Prometheus is flawed, but there's an idea there. Whether you think it's that, like the David Lynch thing, not everything needs to explain. Life needs some mysteries. Get you. But if you were to say to me, pitch me an alien movie, the space jockey from the first film, how the fuck did that get there? What happened? Yeah, I think there's a film that, and I know John Kavanagh was kind of talking about this on our Friday the 13th pod, where he's kind of saying there is a flaw with prequels, and I get that, because you have to get back to the events of the first movie. I said it before, Prometheus would have just been simpler if it was LV-426 and the events and then it's directly leading into Alien. Can't do that. We've already had the film. Covenant is another flawed model film, but Scott got an idea that he wants to do, but it's been pulled by studios. With Beetlejuice, I don't see the underlying thing that Tim Burton's trying to do other than having a mother and daughter reconnect, or a daughter reconnect with her stepmother, and then a daughter trying to reconnect. I don't know. That's the thing with Beetlejuice. I don't see enough of the undercurrent to really love it. Romulus, I think it's like you said at the start, set piece. We have to get this, that, and other. And whether this is just a movie that just reinvents or restarts the Alien franchise as a safe pair of hands, a la J.J. Abrams with The Force Awakens, I don't know. I went off on a ranty McRant, Jim McLean just kind of chatting a lot of nonsense at him. Weigh in before we wrap up and I go and have a cool bath and calm down.
I think the Alien Isolation game was sort of the inspiration for a lot of this movie. And you can see nods to it. There's like the save points from the game. And I think a lot of stuff that game gets right is one alien. Two, it is that enclosed space sort of haunted movie. And there hasn't been a movie like that since the first Alien. So I don't really know why they don't do another one of those. It's weird. And then three, one of the scariest things in that game was the androids, like the sort of blank androids. And I think if you were just to adapt that game into a movie, not word for word, but like that sort of tone, you would have had a better film than what we have here, which, like I said, just plays like someone who loves aliens. Is it going to take maybe 15, 20 years for a new group of directors to come up that weren't watching Aliens every night, is it going to come up with a new batch of directors who watch Prometheus every night, and that's their Alien? That we will get something that pushes the franchise forward more, and even with this new TV show, it's like Set on Earth or whatever. And as much as I trust Noah Hawley, I'm a big fan of Fargo and uh, fucking Legion. So he can work with IPs. It's one of those ones that's like, once you take the alien to Earth, is it really scary? Because that's not really anything new from the franchise, because we've seen that in Alien versus Predator and Alien versus Predator Requiem, and we know how shit that turned out. So I'm not hopeful for the franchise. This movie hasn't, lit the fire under me. Like I said, I'm not that massive of a fan of the Alien franchise as it is. I love them as horror movies, but it hasn't set a fire under me to be like, fuck, I need more of this. I need Alien Rumbus.
I'm intrigued to where they go. I just think they've done a thing now where I think ultimately they have the potential for a return for David, which I would be completely on board with. I just love Michael Fassbender, and he seems to have, fiendish glee in that role of David. Sadly, Walter, R.I.P., will not be returning. I'll have to wait and see. I think, like we talked about with Beetlejuice, a sequel probably from the box office numbers. This probably has done enough more than scratch its face to justify a return to the franchise, to the big screen. Interesting to see, do we carry on? Do we do the Prometheus Covenant thing now, where it'll just be maybe a whole other crew now? Do we carry on Kaylee Spaney and her adventures as they go off to this, I forget the name of the planet that they are going off to? Could that be the planet that David and the colonists ended up with at the end of Covenant? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Probably not. So, Adam, next up, I know we're going to have a few things planned for September. As we say, go onto our Facebook page. You'll see our little 99 poll, the greatest year of cinema ever. I know we got a couple of messages from people going, why are you not talking about The Phantom Menace? And why are you not talking about Fight Club? It's like, because we've already done them, wankers. You fucking go back and listen. Fucking just stop fucking jumping on that Facebook bandwagon and fucking messaging going, why are you not talking about the people in Springfield fucking eating cats and dogs? Fuck off to Truth Social and, stop eating fucking the bullshit Donald Trump comes up with. But, yeah, we're going to be doing 99. And Adam, I'm going to pitch this to you live now, where I think, because a lot of Batman movies are back in the cinema of late, and we're going to be having Batman Day soon. I think we should go back and do a little Batman pod about the greatest Batman movie of all time, Batman and Robin, and see, does it deserve some loves? But I think we should go back, and the underappreciated Batman movie, I think we should go back and do a little pod about Batman Forever.
Jim, if I could come through this screen and kiss you in the lips.
And then as soon as we've done that, we'll do a Good Burger pod, and Adam will just be the happiest boy he's ever been. So yeah, I think we're going to have our 99 pod with a few other little bits and the kind of things. I know we have the festival, Dark Hedges Film Festival, just finalising some things for that. We're going to announce that hopefully by the time this pod's out, might have announced some stuff, and check out our socials for that. Some fun things coming up in October spooky season, Adam. We're going to obviously be talking about some horror movies then. We'll have another Ramble between now and then, another episode of Crime Scene to Screen, and you can find all the back catalogue of this podcast, all those fuckers that message going, why isn't Fight Club on your list for 99? Go back and listen to the podcast where we talked about it. We did a pod about Phantom Menace. It's been one of our more popular episodes in the last kind of few months, obviously because we struck while the iron was hot. The Mummy, we did a pod about the Mummy, and I said, we've already fucking talked about that. 99 was a great year. And all you fuckers that want us to talk about that, why not let us talk about some, the other films that we want to show some love of instead of Southport, Bigger, Longer, and Cut, Bowfinger, bonafide classics nonetheless. But there's some great movies in the list. I just don't have it to hand. Otherwise, I would quote them. But yeah, That's my long way. So yeah, as always, thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe, leave us a review, because everybody always asks that in every podcast you listen to. Would you leave us a review, because it helps us with the algorithm? If we get more 5 stars, means more people can find us. I don't know why I'm doing this for us. There's something in the water. That's why. Something in the water. It's a review, a 5-star review for this podcast. And if we get more, I'll do this entire thing like this for the rest of the eternity. This will be my voice, Mary Poppins, step in time, face huggers in the water, show in the water. Sorry, I'm going to stop. Because I've got to go talk to my lovely wife now, and I'll be talking like this for a while. So, Adam, thank you as always for your time.
Thank you, Jeb.
And we'll be back to normal service with classic cult cinema from next week. I'm not quite sure what we'll be doing. That's why I'm not mentioning the film. And excuse me, I just bit my tongue as I said that. So yes, that's enough for me. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.